Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Pundits special. It's a special podcast.
Oof.
A slightly different setup to what we normally used to. For those that follow me through social media, you will know that I'm fairly active on Fan Team. I am big into their Monster Weekly game. Well, we have a convert on our hands. For the first time, we're having Jason McKenna on board, and we're going to talk through his first ever Fan Team selection, and he's going to talk us through the process about which players he's went for and why. Ahead of game week 21, again, it's their €100,000 game. So Jason, the roles are reversed slightly. How are you, mate? How are you doing?
I'm very excited, Ben. Whenever something new like this comes along, it's always exciting to embrace it and see what it is. And you talked about it for quite a while. And obviously with the, getting out this amazing content on the channel, which again, I'll remind people to like, subscribe, share and whatever. I've been really concentrating on making the content as high quality as possible. And so I didn't really jump into Fan Team, but now there's not really a lull, but I thought, you know what, I'm missing out on the fun here. Get me involved. I messaged you. You said, all right, I'll work my magic here. And so this is why we're making this very special show here. Just kind of explain it to me, because in many senses, you're taking my Fan Team virginity, you're popping the cherry in many aspects, and
like that.
It only seems right that we're this amazing on-screen couple, and we're taking the relationship to the next level. So, talk me through Fan Team and why it's such a great fun thing to get involved in each week.
I think first and foremost, a man of your unique skill set deserves to be able to apply his skills and not only, reap the rewards and the accolades of maybe the fantasy community in terms of all the praise and for your selections, but also be rewarded financially for those decisions as well. And that's what Fan Team allows you to do. Like I say, with big game-changing amounts of money. So it's an opportunity, like I say, to sit down and really apply your skills and hopefully, be paid for all of that hard work that you've done. So, with that in mind, I've purposely just, I put the ball out there. I didn't want to get involved in any kind of the decision-making process. I wanted you just to go away and adopt the same kinds of philosophies that you do for your other fantasy games and apply those to Fantasy Team. And it's interesting to see what you've come up with. As we go through, you will see maybe one or two similarities behind our selections. But I mean, in terms of just selecting your starting 11, did you notice any real difference between Fan Team and maybe, like the official game or some of the other platforms that you do play?
Yeah, the big difference is the kind of prices. I looked this up, but they change each game week, I guess, for the matches as well. But overall, it's a really kind of easy interface to use, super intuitive. It kind of explains it through to you. So in that sense, it was really easy to adapt to it. And it's quite familiar in many senses. You got the all the teams, max price, things there that you kind of do with FPL. And then there's a great thing as well with, again, like FPL, the official Fantasy Premier League. That's what I mean by FPL. You can sort by form or goals or impact or keeper saves. So there's a lot of similarities for people that might be thinking of coming and getting involved. But yeah, I think the only big difference was obviously players are priced with their form and also their kind of game in mind, which is absolutely fine. I just kind of adjusted myself to it and tried to make my money go as far as possible, which is exactly what we do anyway in Fantasy Premier League. But yeah, dead easy to register, set up and just get jumping in. And there's lots of other opportunities on the website as well, but you kind of baptizing me in a slow sense at the moment, and I'm happy just to do this monster game week 21 team at the moment. But there's all sorts of other things, isn't there, Ben?
There is, yeah. I mean, you touch upon two great points. I mean, first and foremost, the similarities between the official game and fan team, fairly seamless. You know, the point and outcomes are all the same. So effectively, in terms of people who are playing, can easily play both games. You can, select your official team, and there's nothing to say that your fan team can't mirror what's happening in an official game. But secondly, and one of the things which I'm not saying I struggled to get my head around, but you touched upon how the prices fluctuate around, particular game weeks. Players from big teams who maybe perception of having an easier fixture tend to be at an increased value, and those with the more difficult fixtures come down. And it's hard sometimes just to get your head around, well, actually, I'm picking a team for just one game week, so there's, you do maybe then have to think about, well, actually, are West Brom players under Sam Allardyce a viable option given their price points and how they're playing? Or, do we seriously consider somebody from Fulham going into this game week? I mean, is that something that you struggled with, or have you moved that, across quite seamlessly?
No, I liked it in many senses, actually, that it's this almost one game week punt. There's the thing with Fantasy Premier League, the official one, where you pick your team at the start of the season, and then when you wildcard, you pick it again, but you're stuck with those players. What's kind of good about this is it's a clean slate each game week, so you can almost put last week game week behind you. You don't have to go, oh God, I'm stuck with Salah now and he's injured or something like that. It's all renewed, which is great. And the fact that it's kind of making you think outside the box as well. And we talk a lot about differentials with our podcast here, Ben. So it kind of suits us both quite well. You're the differential dinnery. I mean, you love sniffing them out. And that's why your team is like 0% template.
Crap.
No, not crap at all. Not crap at all. 0% template, which you actually almost wear as a badge of honor. And so this is why it works well for certain styles, and it's a different way. But yeah, as well, it makes you think about other assets, consider other teams, and just for one game week as well, it's not a bad prospect at all. It's quite fun because there are players in there that I would never have in my normal fantasy team, but for one game week I think they might pull it out the bag. They have good underlying data or something just for that one game week in comparison to their opponent. So again, it's slightly different, but it is using those tools, as you say, Ben.
Right, well then, Jason, without any further ado, I've seen your starting 11, but those who are watching won't have. So would you like to kick us off with who you're going to go with in terms of your backline?
Yes, so I'll bring my team up on screen so that people can enjoy it, and it's covering that fan team logo just a little bit, but I think it's been there enough for people to understand. But yes, so I'll start with goalkeeper and the whole defensive back line, but I'm going with Johnston from West Brom in that Fulham game, and then I'm doubling up actually with West Brom defensive assets, and I've got Furlong in there as well, then João Cancelo, Alderweireld, and Ben Chilwell. So quite often we talk about the bread and butter of these defenders just getting clean sheets, and at the moment there's been quite a lot of discussion from you and I, Ben, that clean sheets are kind of the thing that are in at the moment. So I wanted 4 at the back just because I think there is quite a high probability of it. Now, the reason why I went with Johnston and Furlong, a lot of people will be kind of questioning that. Now, their defensive data is not great. I would say that West Brom do not look good. But Fulham's attacking data is what kind of brought it to my 4. They've not done great. They're not been brilliant going forward. They've had an XG non-penalty of actually just 3.93 in the last 6 game weeks, and they've only scored 2 goals. So their quality going forward isn't good anyway. They're not creating a lot of chances. And I feel that Big Sam is going to want this to be at home, a stop out, and really get a good result here to maybe bounce back. I think this is an opportunity for the team there. So it's more the attacking data plus the knowledge that Sam Allardyce is very good at organising defences. I know he's not done it yet, but I can see this one being a 0-0 kind of slugfest between two teams that both don't want to lose because they're obviously near the relegation zone. And I don't think either team has got much in the ability to score either. It's just one of those elusive, annoying penalties that might be given. I think that would be the only thing there. So yeah, starting with those West Brom assets at the back, Ben, what do you think about them? Is that almost a little bit wild from me to be going there? I mean, it's against the grain because most people would be getting in Fulham assets instead.
Yeah, look, certainly given their price point of where they are heading into this game week, it frees up a lot of funds to be able to invest higher up the pitch. And so, we will come to my team. But yeah, West Brom were on my radar. Again, looking at it from an attacking perspective, from Fulham, who blanked again midweek. Not great, not a lot to write home about. The one concern I did slightly is I do like Ademola Lookman. I think he is more than capable of changing a game or producing that one bit of brilliance to maybe unlock a defence. And also West Brom, they've got one or two mistakes in there, and they just, it's very much, I think it's a confidence, and it's that belief in that West Brom back line. If they can play anything like they did maybe, in the Black Country Derby against Wolves, but obviously keep things a lot tighter at the back, then, there's a very good chance that it's a game neither team will want to lose. I wouldn't exactly pitch it as a relegation dogfight, 6-pointer. There are still a lot of games to be played, but I think either team to lose at this time would be difficult for either side to take.
Yeah, so that was going into my thinking that it's going to be a cagey affair. Like you're saying there, I don't think it's going to be one of those near end of season games where it's going to be fighting for every ball. I think even the opposite might be the problem. Is it will just be a drudge, no kind of. Not lack of effort, but because of COVID, because of the lack of fitness, I don't see it being like a huge scoring, interesting game. I think it's going to be a 0-0 or a draw at least, and hopefully I get the clean sheets there. Now I've got in João Cancelo, and obviously you bring in the fact that Manchester City is so kind of consistent at the back. But the other thing is he's actually got the third best expected assists over the last 6 game weeks. He's got 47 minutes per chance created, 10 chances created in total, and 3 big chances over those games. He's looking really good once again, and this weekend we saw that with returns in terms of a goal and an assist. I think the problem with João Cancelo has also been almost an underperformance. He's had this good data for a while, and a lot of people have been frustrated that he's not got anything on top of the the clean sheets that he's been getting. And when John Stones scored a double, people were even more kicking themselves that they didn't have him in instead of Cancelo. But I think realistically, looking at it, of the Manchester City defensive options, they're quite premium. But I'm happy with that because, like we're saying, the meta seems to be at the moment that its defensive options are looking good with this kind of downturn in goal scoring. And Cancelo is the one that might be able to break the deadlock. I think he's going to be even more important with the fact that De Bruyne is out of the team. He's going to have to play even more of a creative role than usual. So I'm happy with that one. Now, I do have Chilwell at the back there. I think he's the only one that you can kind of trust with that Chelsea back line. It was not the best of games against Wolves, but we'll kind of see what happens with it. Tuchel and his style will mean that Chilwell will actually have to contribute a lot of attacking kind of creativity. So I'm happy with that kind of own. And if not, I don't see Burnley scoring against Chelsea. For all their faults at the moment, I think Burnley have just been so poor going forward apart from against Aston Villa. But that's a talking point for a little bit later. Now, my final defender, and you're going to have to help me out with this one, Ben, but I was going to get in Reguilon, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be fit for this match. So can you give us a little bit of an injury update there? Because I was fancying him. I fancied a clean sheet for Tottenham against Brighton, but also there's that ability, a bit like Chilwell, a bit like Cancelo. Reguilon has had a good kind of link-up play with Son and Kane for those assists through the season. So is he not going to be playing this weekend?
Yeah, so we're actually recording this on Thursday afternoon ahead of the Tottenham game with Liverpool. And we heard from Jose Mourinho on Wednesday. Now, typical Jose Mourinho come out in the press conference, and when asked directly anything, any updates with regards to team news, player availability, Ben Davey was just mentioned, who had a little bit of a calf issue. But then there was questions asked with regards to Matt Doherty, Dele Alli, and all basically Jose said was, look, I'm not going to tell you what's happening. There are bigger issues. There are more problems going on. You will find out at the team news on Thursday. So it was really left at that. However, about 2 to 3 hours later, local media reports revealed that Reguilon was one of those players who has picked up. And now he was on the bench in the FA Cup, I think it was Monday night, if I cast my mind back correctly. So there must have been a training ground injury. Now, an initial reports suggest that that setback is likely to keep him out for around about 3 weeks. Again, we don't know who else may have picked up a knock in that Tottenham squad, but Reguilon certainly looks to be out for the remainder of this month.
So, with your recommendation here, I still want to own in that Tottenham defence, but which kind of player do I go for? I mean, I've got the money to be able to get Aurier in. He's priced at 8 million, and I've got 8.4 in the bank because of Reguilon's absence. Is he likely to start? I mean, he, on his day, is such a creative player, such a good force. Or should I go with somebody, a bit more assured to start, that I know will be out there? Or is Doherty's injury kind of cool and confirmed that Aurier is going to be in that 11?
I mean, the short answer is we just don't know. Our availability, or certain in terms of a start, may be impacted by Doherty. We know that he's been silenced. We don't know if he's come back. But Aurier is also captaining an ongoing problem as well. So, he was named on the bench in the FA Cup. But if you've seen in and around the Europa League games and certain league matches, he's been in and out of that squad. So again, it suggests that there's a little niggle in there. If Doherty's out, then I would more or less expect him to throw Aura in there, because there just aren't many or any other options, realistically, unless he wants to change things up and maybe go with you could go with 3 centre backs as a possibility with all the Alderweireld, Sanchez, Rondon, Ali, whichever way you want. And then he could even put Sissoko, which I think he has done in the past, as a right wing back in a 3-5-2. So there are possibilities in that regard. I mean, it really depends on how you want to play. The good thing is with Fan Team is if you do put a player in and they're not selected or dropped off for whatever reason, then it will bring in an automatic substitution for you. But what I would just, make you aware of, it's got to be at that price point or lower. So you can't effectively put in a cheap defender knowing that he won't start and then hoping that you might get, a Harry Maguire or whoever might be thrown in. So, you have got that safety net. But like I say, ensure that the funds are spent correctly. So like I say, even if you weren't aware of the Reguilon injury and you put him in, Fan Team would bring an automatic substitution in for, his replacement.
Well, that's quite a comforting thought in terms of general Fan Team, the kind of mechanics of it, which is good that you'll have basically a starting 11 no matter what. That's a real positive there. So my thinking is, I feel like I should risk it with Aurier because he's got that high ceiling, and then hopefully they'll bring in Alderweireld as that kind of backup for me in that team there. So I've kind of selected my back line there. Shall we move it on to the midfield? Do you want to find out my exciting midfield options, Ben?
Hey, Jason, honestly, I am so looking forward to this. It's hard to contain my enthusiasm, with how excited I am at this. Please just go for it.
I mean, that's why you've got the background there. You've got the clouds there just to try and dampen the enthusiasm, because you're getting too overworked. I see how it is, Ben. But So this midfield, I've gone with a 3. Again, it's this kind of thing where I do expect there to be shutouts and maybe some strange scorelines, purely because this season has been so unpredictable and hard to kind of find good attacking outlets. But these 3, I think, are mainstays in their team. They're basically talismans, or as good as. So starting off, Jack Grealish, I think he's a great shout against Southampton. And the thing is, I'm going to come on to... Well, I'll come on to it now, actually. I think both Southampton and Aston Villa have kind of had a real downturn in defensive quality over the last few game weeks. So looking at it, the teams are very close in many aspects of poor defensive quality. And this is something that we weren't saying earlier on in the season. So actually looking at it, big chances conceded. Southampton have had 12 over the last 6 game weeks, which is actually more than Aston Villa. But then Aston Villa have had more goal attempts in the box conceded. And then looking at their XG conceded, Aston Villa are actually in the bottom 5 of the Premier League, and Southampton are just a little bit higher there, but only Chelsea and Fulham are between them. So I think this could be, and we saw this with the Burnley game as well, maybe a fun high-scoring game. And obviously when Aston Villa score lots of goals, bags of goals, who's going to be the main kind of person there? 9 times out of 10, it's Grealish, either with the goal or the assist. So I'm really liking Grealish for that game there. And I think it might be a reason as well why I'm not going with any defensive assets from either side for that game, just because I think these teams have been poor defensively recently. And there's that added thing as well. I think you can open this out more, Ben, but Southampton are missing quite a few players as well. So there might be youth players coming out. There might be not the usual 11. It's a real kind of hodgepodge makeshift 11 that Southampton have to put out there. So I'll just go through the rest of my midfield options, and then we can discuss that through. I've got Heung-min Son. I mean, he kind of explains himself. He's so good. He's been brilliant this season. And he's playing a Brighton defence that, yes, they continually put up all right numbers, but it's a Brighton defence that continually let in goals, underperform, and they're just not good enough, unfortunately. They try and play good football, and sometimes that is to their detriment. It just leaves them so wide open. So I think Son might have a field day, even though it is away from home. It doesn't matter where he is, he can score lots of goals. And then I've got Ashley Barnes. Now, this is, again, I'm repeating points here that we've...
Harvey Barnes.
Sorry, Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes.
Oh, no. Oh, I better leave. I'll get the door.
I mean, he has only picked up because Ashley Barnes is injured.
Yes.
He's injured. Harvey Barnes. This can be edited out.
I mean...
Or not. Or we can leave it in.
Yeah, I think, human error here. I said the wrong Barnes, but people know which one I should be going for. Because obviously James Maddison does not play for... I was about to say Ashley Maddison, which is a totally different story. James Maddison plays for Leicester, and so does Barnes. So now the reason why I've gone with Harvey is... He's the better one out of those two. And I am kind of on the cusp of thinking, should I get in Maddison as well? Because they're playing Leeds, the most... I don't want to insult them, but they're one of the worst defences we've seen this season. But they play amazing football, so we kind of forgive them for it because they score lots of goals. They look really good going forward. And Barnes is producing really good underlying data in comparison to James Maddison. So that's why I go with him over his counterpart, because I think Maddison's getting in the right positions, he's taking the right kind of shots, he's in and around the box. He's had a 2.72 XGI over the last 6 game weeks, so his 3 goals isn't an overperformance. Whereas you look at Maddison, and he is well down the list in terms of his goal scoring and involvement. And also, what is interesting for me is that Barnes has produced less chances than Maddison, but they're of higher quality. So he's got a higher expected assists as well. So Maddison is, I think he's been lucky so far. I think he's played well. I think Leicester have improved quite a bit. We will see how they cope without Vardy, but this game I think doesn't matter, and hopefully it's not one of those games where Leeds come against the odds and get a clean sheet. I think it's one of those games that hopefully Leicester have a bit of a boon, and maybe it might be another 9-goal thriller like we saw this time last year against Southampton. I don't know. That's probably a bit far-fetched, but I think Barnes is the more likely out of those two. So with my son, Grealish, and Barnes, Harvey Barnes, not Ashley, what do you think of that midfield there, Ben?
Really like the Son pick. Travelling to the Amex, you may be thinking, it's quite a difficult game on paper, and then you realise Brighton haven't actually won a game at home this season. I think that's 10 now, with the draw against, was it Fulham? Maybe. So, 10 games, the pressure is beginning to mount on Graham Potter. Again, Brighton are suffering a number of injury concerns, and although one or two players returned to their squad midweek, they're not fully up to speed. That Alban Lorna is a key player, but he's working his way back to full fitness. Aaron Connolly, and I just don't get some of Graham Potter's team selection decisions. When I seem to see Pascal Gross play, I like him. He creates, and then I see him out of the squad for 2 and 3 games, or he's rotated out. And and for that reason, and obviously they're out Tariq Lamptey, who's going to be a while. What sums it up really for me is Danny Welbeck is probably been one of the highlights of their season so far. And nothing, and no disrespect to him, but really, really Danny Welbeck, given the injury problems that he's had, undoubtedly his quality, but to rely on somebody like him, maybe what's happening with Trossard and Mupai, I don't know if they went a little bit stale. They obviously have the quality and the potential, but they're just not delivering. And that it's going to be ideal for Marino's men to come out. We'll see what happens, with that Liverpool game. It could be a case of, confidence is, bang on after getting that result, or they may want to be, maybe looking to bounce back after a defeat to Liverpool, in which case I think it makes Son even a more appealing asset. Harvey Barnes, I know you've been sweet on Harvey from our other podcast, and I've veered towards Maddison. I'm going to look elsewhere with my selection, and I'll probably touch upon the reasons as to why with that. And Grealish, like Grealish, I think the only slight concern that I have is just this post-COVID rest with Villa and that little bit of fatigue. We recorded a video last night where we alluded to that. It's great playing City your first game back, and then you're playing, but once that little bit of enthusiasm of getting back into the football and green starts to wane and fatigue levels start to drop. Dean Smith doesn't tend to rotate much. He doesn't even bring in a lot of substitutes. What was the thing? First half of the season, I think they were down there with some of the fewest rotations in the top flight. So I think it's got the makings of being an open game. Southampton missing a few players, and like you say, really from an attacking sense, there's maybe only 3 players for me given serious consideration within that Villa lineup, and obviously Jack Grealish is leads the pack.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Harvey Barnes can do, and we will see what your team is looking like. But we'll go on to my forwards really quickly, and then we'll have the discussion about yours. But starting off with Alex Lacazette. Now, people will know that even though I'm an Arsenal fan, I have no bias towards Arsenal assets whatsoever. And in fact, it might be the old switcheroo, and maybe I'm too against them. But Lacazette has looked really rejuvenated with Smith Rowe back in the team, but also with Odegaard has been signed as well. Now, Smith Rowe looked like he was potentially injured at the weekend, but hopefully it's not too bad. Again, Ben, you can kind of open that out for us more, but Odegaard is so good, and I think Lacazette is the main beneficiary of this real upturn in terms of Arsenal. And what's interesting to me is Lacazette, he's not had too many shots over the last 6 game weeks, probably 2 a game, but they're basically all inside the box. 12 shots, 11 inside the box, and 11 of those on target as well. He's had an XGI of 4.51 over the last 6, only bettered by Bruno Fernandes. And you have to kind of remember that obviously he's on penalties. Lacazette, I don't think Arsenal have had a penalty over that time, but 5 goals. He is in fine form at the moment, and I expect that possibly to continue, because this is another point that you and I had this game week with the defenders. Manchester United's defensive data has not been good recently, and they have a sloppy mistake in them, so much so that they managed to lose to Sheffield United. Arsenal's attack is much better, of much higher quality, so I'm expecting Lacazette to get out there and cause a lot of fuss. It might not be a hat-trick or something, but I expect him to be on the score sheet, because frankly, I don't see Man United keeping a clean sheet there. Over the last few game weeks, Man United have let far too many good chances go against them, with 52 goal attempts in the box conceded over the last 6. Only Crystal Palace, Villa, Burnley, Newcastle and West Brom are worse. And with big chances conceded as well, the Man United team are just letting too many go past them. So there is that worry. There's a high number as well, 79 goal attempts conceded. It's not good reading for the Man United defence there. So that's why I like Lacazette. Watkins is part of a Aston Villa side that are possibly the second best attack in the league at the moment. And then Danny Ings I like because the Southampton side obviously haven't been doing too well attacking wise, but I feel like Villa are going to let in a few goals again, kind of like Manchester United with Sheffield United. Burnley, who haven't been able to score more than 1 goal for ages, scored 3 against them. So I feel that there is a problem at the back there, and I think Danny Ings, if anybody's going to exploit it, it's going to be him. What are you thinking about that forward line there, Ben?
Yeah, I like Danny Ings. I think almost Danny Ings himself transcends the Southampton downturn in form. It's almost like, we maybe see some of the top teams as being fixture proof. I see Danny Ings as being form proof in terms of the rest of his squad, because Southampton haven't been great. Let's not sugarcoat it. Chances are down, opportunities, they're not creating as much, they're not, getting in those positions. That's reflected in the number of players that they've had sidelined, key players, Danny Ings being one of those, recently coming back from COVID. But look, I like Danny Ings. I've been a big fan of him. I think he's been great since, the beginning of Project Restart, really, and Southampton have. So for the reasons that you've outlined, yeah, then definitely, look, a little peek behind the curtain. I think Danny Ings is in May starting 11 as well. So that's, we share that at this moment in time. Ollie Watkins, again, I can't see this being, a low scoring board draw. And I am thinking 2-2, possibly even a 3-3. I think it will be open, attacking. Southampton are, really missing the likes of Vestergaard. We're not sure if Walker Peters is out. It certainly looks highly likely that he is at this point in time. They will be boosted by the return of Ryan Bertrand, who was absent, midweek against Arsenal. He served a 1-match ban, so that will help them certainly. But I'm expecting a good game, so that's what I'm looking forward to. Lacazette and Arsenal generally, I just struggle with. It's a big game. They've got a decent record against Manchester United. I think throughout the last 4, they've won to 0. If you had to pick anybody within that team, then Lacazette would be up there, probably with maybe Saka. is the other one that you could potentially go to. But as a striker, then it's hard. Lacazette shouldn't be far away from those. Whether Aubameyang will be back in that Arsenal team, we're not sure. From a personal point of view, I think things are a lot better at home, but we're not sure if there is going to be an issue with him having to quarantine if he travels back into the country. So there are no guarantees. And with Odegaard, training with the squad, Mikel Arteta was very non-committal. It would be a big shout to start him straight away. But, with question marks over the fitness of Thomas Partey and Emile Smith-Rowe, who, are managing, again, muscular problems, complaining of discomfort, then that might be an opportunity to say, well, actually, we just don't have the personnel. Why not give them a try? Because what we have seen from the likes of Willian, they're just not delivering. I mean, people will look at that performance from Pepe and think, is this his opportunity to shine and really kick on the second half of the season? We don't know. There's been so many false dawns with that. But overall, like I say, I like the balance of your team. A 4-3-3, it's not a setup that I tend to go with a lot of the time, to be honest. And it's not a conscious decision to say I'm not going with that. I just, whether it's a mindset, I'm an old centre half from me playing days, and maybe I'm hard to get it out of that mindset. I struggle to think, because first and foremost I think, clean sheets, let's go clean sheets, and then we'll see what kind of budget we've got left going forward. But no, I like it. Like I say, there are one or two players in there which I've opted to go against, and some that we share. So we might as well have a look at my team and see where we're at, and yes, you can give me your opinion. Look, I've went Johnson as well, but I've went with a 5-3-2, so I've went with a back six, and I have doubled up on the baggies as well. When we're looking at value in terms of a price point for this particular game week against Fulham, both players are coming in and around that 6.8, 6.9 million mark. That just gives you a lot of flexibility in the rest of the squad. Instead of going for, was it Furlong you went for? I've went AJ. If I pronounced that right, I hope I haven't brutalized his name. He is an option that can be played higher up the pitch by Sam Allardyce. He has talked about him, potentially playing in that midfield role as a holding role. So there's just that the possibility of eking a little bit more out of him, as well as hopefully a defensive return, but maybe just from a slight attacking perspective. In fact, I think he did actually get himself a goal there the other week as well. So that's why I've went for AJ. So that's, we're similar in that we've doubled up on the baggies, and I've also doubled up on Wolves. And I'm not a big fan of Wolves at the moment, but it was interesting to listen to Nuno following the midweek draw in Tuchel's first game at Stamford Bridge. Nuno said, first and foremost, we're going to go out and we're going to keep a clean sheet. That's what I want. We want to limit the opportunities. We want to get that clean sheet. We'll have a foundation to build on. And that was reflected in the game itself, which was pretty boring. Wolves will look to nullify that attack. I know they're playing against the Crystal Palace team where they can afford to be a little bit more adventurous. But again, I'm looking at that attack and thinking, have Palace, they're the type of team that Hodgkin can set out, and Wolves could go and win 3, or Palace could, if Zaha's on his game, could easily score. But I'm tempted to double up. Semedo, because I know he's guaranteed a start. That's why I went with him. And also I went with Bowley, just because, again, he offers that attacking threat. I think in the Black Country Derby, got himself a goal and an assist in that game. We seen Sias out the starting lineup last time out. Nouri is by no means nil, and Kilman has just come back in. So, those players, the only other one, it was a toss-up between Bowley and Cody, really, and I just thought Bowley was worth that, that extra little bit, because, he tends to sort of find himself, in and around that goal area more often. And finally, Cancelo. It's the no-brainer. It's the standout fixture of the weekend. You want to be steaming into City assets. I'm not fooled by this midweek win at Old Trafford. That doesn't sway my selection decision in any way, shape, or form. City have got 9 clean sheets out their last 11. I think 13 goals conceded, 11 clean sheets across the season. Cancelo, playing out of position in a more advanced role. He's creating, he's getting forward. That's a no-brainer for me.
So who's in your midfield, Ben? Because that's quite an exciting defensive back line there.
It is, yeah. So we went Jack Grealish for all of the reasons that you outlined before. You went for Harvey Barnes. Now I've went for Ayoze Perez. And the reason I've went for Ayoze Perez is I'm hoping that he will retain his place and he will occupy that central role vacated by Jamie Vardy. Brendan Rodgers has come out and said, I think this, he hasn't played much. Now is his chance to shine. I think he will get goals. And I'm expecting him to. So that's the reason we went with Perez. And I've also opted to captain Mo Salah. Now,
Oh, that's very unlike you. You don't normally like the Salah.
Well, he's getting a lot of bad press. Liverpool generally, his performances. But I think it's 12 games and we still have 9 goals, 3 assists. And this is Salah, and this is a bad Salah. This is a Salah off form. Now, again, we'll see what happens against Tottenham on Thursday evening. If he bangs, I would expect his ownership to go through the roof heading into this game week. If he doesn't, then I'm quite happy to have him as a little bit of a differential. Tough fixture, heading to West Ham, who are in great form. But, it's an opportunity for Liverpool to really sort of stand up and be counted again. They cannot afford too many more slip-ups like they've had against the likes of Burnley, what have you. Otherwise, they will be out of the title race. And the 2 players I've went up front, Danny Ings, we've talked about it before. And maybe another Maverick pick is Edison Cavani. It is a little bit of a punt.
I like it though.
It's a difficult one. He was rested midweek. I expect Ollie to shake things up a little bit. So 100% I'm expecting him in that United lineup. And if we are to consider United as being serious title contenders, or they want to push their City rivals to the limit, then, they need to be coming back in this game with a big performance and sort of answer, some of those criticisms that they faced after losing to the Blades. So that is my lineup. And I've actually put the vice captaincy armband on Cavani if anything should happen to Salah at this moment in time. And of course, whatever you're playing for is, away from first place, because this is bringing home the bacon.
I love that. It's some great shouts in there, Ben. And thank you just for introducing me to this game model. I urge everybody else to get involved because it is really fun. This kind of differing approach. And as Ben said, your fantasy kind of knowledge is rewarded here because you can win big each game week. But from us, for now, as always, we say a goodbye and a good luck.
Yeah, great. Excellent to have you on, Jason. Brilliant insights. I look forward to finding out how you've done when we revisit this game week on our next podcast. So for now, good luck, everyone. And we'll see you all again soon.
And I want to see those gun fingers as well, Ben.